I want
Mhm.
to move on to the game that shocked me the most, which was Ohio State putting belt the ass on Oregon. I was not expecting the complete annihilation that we witnessed in this game. I mean, I had a homie that told me he was taking Oregon +3 before the game. And then right after Ohio State went up 14-0, he was like, "You think Oregon got a chance to pull Arizona State?" I was like, "I don't think so, brother. They don't got a Jeremiah
No.
Smith on their team."
No. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That they're lying about that dude. That dude is not 18. Like, I refuse to believe a dude that's 6'3, 6'2, 225 pounds at 18 years old is doing this to grown men. This is an old man in a young man's body, bro. Are you
Yeah,
kidding me?
yeah, Dylan Raiola and DJ Lagway had me like that too. I'm like, whatever offseason conditioning program that these universities gave them, they look like they've been in college for about 7 years. Like, what in the hell is going on?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
this
felt like with
game,
Oregon, they should have did what the Lions had to deal with when the Saints double team, quadruple team Calvin Johnson. Like, you had three guys on the line trying to
yep.
press him, trying to stop the brother. That's the only way you could have slowed him down.
Uh, Let me tell you the X factor in this game, and it's quite obvious. And I've been on Twitter defending Dylan. Like Dylan Gabriel, he is not the reason why they lost this game. The They had 0 sacks against Dylan the first game. They had 8 in this game with 13 tackles for loss. So that changed the trajectory of everything. I don't know if they just got healthy over these last couple of weeks or whatever the case may be, or if they just knew. And as well as I do, Jim Knowles has proved that he is the best defensive coordinator in the country,
Without a doubt.
time and time again, when making adjustments in big games. And I think between him and Chip Kelly, they have told Ryan Day, let us coordinate, bro. We got you. We know what we're doing. Chip Kelly ain't no stranger to having really good running offenses, and they ran the hell out of the ball this time successfully. Quinshon Judkins was looking very, very
This is
suspect
the
this year.
first time this season I've actually saw him look like the running back we all thought he would be coming into this
Bingo.
year. I felt like
Bingo,
he's been
man.
one of the biggest waste of money, however much they paid him this year out of everybody in the portal. But he was doing this
Yeah.
thing along with Travion Henderson. And I mean,
Yeah.
defensively, I felt like what Ohio State did better this go around compared to the first time they played was that they completely eliminated the explosive passing plays that Oregon was getting on them. Because I remember that first game, Evan Stewart was killing them downfield. It's like Oregon was just so efficient with their passing attack. And
Yeah.
Will Stein runs like a West Coast timing based offense. And you saw Ohio State very early take away those short passing concepts that they love to run, because normally it's kind of like rhythmatic. They get the ball out fast, then they want to attack you downfield. But once they were able to eliminate the short passing plays and that defensive line really started to feast on Oregon, like, do you think that Oregon was slightly overrated in this game? Because they haven't really played too much competition this season. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
Oregon wasn't a great team, but they had the home field advantage in that first game.
I don't think it's an interesting question, right? Because like in my mind, I'm like, man, you look at the games that they played this year and how close. I mean, close game against Idaho, bro. Like it's like, okay, maybe they are a little overrated, but then you look at their record and it's like you can't be overrated having a record like that. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you got to look at the wins and the losses.
Yeah.
But then like Ohio State, I said at the beginning of the season, my prediction was Ohio State and Oregon were going to be in the national championship. They ended up being in the same bracket as fate would have it, right? But to me, the biggest factor in this game, man, I was arguing with somebody on Twitter about this. I said he had two of his major weapons out that had almost 300 yards of offense. Jordan James got hurt in the first quarter. That was a huge blow. He had 120 something rushing yards in the first game. And then you have Evan Stewart, who had over like 140 yards and a touchdown and 7 catches. He was torching Ohio State. Like Davidson Igbinosa did not know what to do with him. And Davidson Igbinosa is that dude, man. Like one of my favorite corners in college football. But I really just think the sustained pressure, it's always different the second time around. And this is no knock on Oregon. I just think that the coordinators are better at Ohio State, and that
Yeah.
Will Stein did something that he usually hasn't done all season. He does a lot of this, we're going to line you up a bunch, and then we're going to figure out what your defense is, and then we're going to start, instead of having an empty set, we're going to start moving tight ends and running backs to come up and block and give us time to pass the ball.
Yeah.
You didn't really see that because right away it was Dylan didn't even have that much time to throw, bro. It was drop back, throw it in the dirt, because it's like I don't have that much time to even set my base. And then him being a smaller guy, yeah, I get it. That is definitely a factor when you have pressure in your face. But that's a great game plan against a smaller guy. You make his offensive line and everything this close to him, he's not going to be able to get over the line of scrimmage. He's better when he has time to throw, and I totally get that. But this game was very interesting. I mean, I did not think it would be like that. But what would it be like with Evan Stewart being there and Jordan James and Will Stein running the offense like he usually does, confusing the defense? Like, it's just kudos to the chess match. Like, you play Risk and you try to figure out where you got to line your pieces up to get in the enemy territory. And Ohio State did that. But I honestly think the X factor of this game is, we've talked about Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith was absolutely sensational in the catches that he was making. And I think people severely underrate the way that Will Howard has been in his career thus far. And this is one of those statement games where he was throwing the middle finger up to everybody.
Yeah,
He's
he
like, I
definitely
got
was
the
balling.
receivers. And Emeka Ibuka too.
Yeah.
Let's shout out to him for, like, Jeremiah made a big play. I'm going to go down the field and make a big play now too.
Yeah.
Make people remember who I am. So it was a great effort by them, man. I mean, I can't say nothing bad about Ohio State. That money is definitely showing up.
That Michigan loss really unlocked something with this team. The Ohio State team that we've seen these last two playoff games looks like the team we envisioned coming into this year. Because remember, they spent $20 million on this squad when you include the hire Chip Kelly, bringing in Judkins, Will Howard, keeping some of the guys around from last year's team. There was a lot of financial there was a lot of money invested into this team. And for them to lose to Ohio State, you wonder how were they going to respond after that? Because regardless if they win a national championship, this season still somewhat doesn't feel complete because you lost to Michigan, which is why I now understand why they call it the game. Because it's like, it kind of is the game of all game. It's like, if you don't win this, you just feel like your season is incomplete, because that loss people used to kind of define what Ohio State was. And it also single-handedly changed the perspective on how people felt about the trajectory that Michigan was heading on. Because before that, you felt like Sharon Moore wasn't that good. You had major concerns about how the recruiting was going to pan out. And ever since then, Michigan has kind of turned it around. And Ohio State, they've just played a different brand of football. I felt like these last two playoff games, we were seeing Ohio State air the ball out. I felt like before they played Michigan, they felt like we had to play bully ball. We had to impose our will up front. And I was listening to Urban Meyer talk about how Ohio State is getting away from who they are, which is throwing the ball, dominating on the perimeter. You feel me? And plus, you lose Seth McLaughlin, and you also lost an offensive tackle. You kind of were going against what the strength of your team was. Like, Ohio State may not be as good up front as what we've been accustomed to seeing out of them in years prior, but it still doesn't mean that they're so bad they can't run the ball. But it's like, at the same time, your strength is you got this alien in Jeremiah Smith, who people claim is 18 years old. I don't believe it. You got Ibuka. You got another good Cornell Tate, I think his name is.
Cornell Tate, Brandon Ennis. Like, the list just keeps going, bro.
And once they got the passing game going, that opened up the run game. And Oregon, for Dan Lanning, he's about to hit that wall that a lot of elite coaches reach. Like Kirby Smart. After year one, his next couple of years, you were asking yourself, okay, do we have Mark Richt 2.0? Is he going to be able to get over that championship wall? And Dan Lanning has quickly approached that, because we've seen Dan Lanning kind of get out coached against some of the best head coaches in college football over the last year. We've seen him get out coached twice by Kalen DeBoer. And now you get out coached by Ryan Day. And, the first game, I kind of felt like he kind of won the coaching matchup slightly, because he was able to utilize a rule with having 12 men on the field to his advantage. But
Yep.